Shields.
I do not have any props or sound effects to accompany my, no, but I have my brother here. The gentleman over here in the blue shirt is my brother, Chuck Kraus. My brother, Chuck, is probably the ultimate Pirate fan. If he hasn't already shown you his scrapbook from the 60 World Series, he has that here with him. You might want to check it out because it's pretty spectacular. It's all original. And he's come up twice now to join in the festivities. We were up here about a month ago when we unveiled the Mazeroski statue, and then of course he came up for today's activities and to be at the wall tomorrow. Which brings us to the reason for this proclamation. Honoring the 60 team is the first part of this. The second part is honoring those that keep the memory alive. And that's the Gang of Seven. And we have them here today, and we would like to bring you up so that we can do this proclamation for you and honor you for what it is that you do to keep the memory alive. Okay, ready? It's your day. So, we have a little bit of history for you about the Gang of Seven. How about a show of hands? Who's been at the wall to hear the replay of the game at some point in their lives?
We'll expect them all there.
We'll expect you all there tomorrow, exactly. Okay, so here's some history on the Gang of Seven. The gathering on October 13th each year began in 1985 when Saul Finkelstein first came out to listen to the game. Saul passed away in 2004, and since that time, the Gang of Seven has carried on the tradition with an emphasis on keeping it a grassroots event and trying to keep it a day of good old-fashioned nostalgic baseball. Some of my fondest memories of growing up as a boy are at Pirate games in Oakland. My father, I've said this before, worked for the Isley Dairy Company, and he had a store in Oakland right across the street from Gus Miller's. He would take me and my brother Chuck in the mornings to work with him, and of course it was a different world then. We were like 5 and 6 years old. He'd turn us loose in Oakland to go to a Pirate game at Forbes Field, and then we'd meet him back at work and head home. So some of my fondest memories, really, the nostalgia of baseball at Forbes Field. So the members of the gang that are here this morning, the gang leader, Herb Stoltman, is a graduate from Taylor Alderdice and the University of Pittsburgh in business. He has been retired for 7.5 years after a career in paper and plastic packaging. He also served 2 years in the Army and 4 years in the Reserve. Joe Landolina graduated from Central Catholic, Duquesne University, has a law degree, and is an attorney and a CPA. Steve Newmeyer graduated from CCAC, has worked in building maintenance for the Catholic Diocese for over 20 years, mostly at the Sacred Heart School. He even has a dog named Yogi, after Yogi Berra. A life might be in order. He also served 2 years in the military. Dan Schultz graduated from the Art Institute, served 4 years active duty and 22 years in the Reserve. He is a graphic designer with Reed Whitting. We have with us this morning George Skornickel. He's a graduate from Penn State, is a retired middle school teacher and a longtime Sears memorabilia collector. And John Urso, he graduated from Shenley and Duquesne, also served in the Air Force for 4 years, and has worked for IBM for over 26 years. So with the history in place, we have a proclamation to honor you for everything that you have done to keep the memory of that day alive. And it begins as follows. Whereas on October 13th, 1960, at 3:36 p.m., Pirates second baseman Bill Mazeroski hit a Ralph Terry fastball over Yogi Berra's head in the left field wall of Forbes Field to give the Pirates a victory in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series against the New York Yankees. And whereas at noon, October 13th, 1985, some 25 years later, Saul Finkelstein sat in front of the remaining Forbes walled field at the base of the flagpole and with a tape recorder to listen to the original NBC radio broadcast of that 7th game. And whereas Saul Finkelstein came back year after year, and over the years, folks would happen by and stop to see what he was doing, and occasionally stay and listen for a bit. but he was mostly alone until we saw Jim O'Brien's sign at Pirate Fest 92 saying, "Do you have any interesting stories about the 1960 World Series?" And whereas Mr. Finkelstein shared his story with Mr. O'Brien, included in his book, which came out in August of 1992, and Mr. O'Brien went out to the wall the following October, and there about a dozen others had gathered to read the book, and since that attendance has grown each year, with the largest group coming out for the 40th anniversary in 2000. And whereas although Saul Finkelstein passed away in December of 2004, his tradition carries on today with the nurturing and the perseverance of a dedicated group of baseball fans who have come to be known as the Gang of Seven. And whereas, I'm sorry?
Game 7 Gang.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I've been corrected. It's the Game 7 Gang. I'm sure I get that right. I'm sorry? Okay. I have parking on the mind. And whereas these dedicated men known as the Game 7 Gang, Herb Stoltman, affectionately known as the gang leader, Joe Landolina, Steve Neumeyer, Dan Schultz, George Skornickel, and John Urso have organized this event for the past several years, always being mindful of its grassroots origin, no matter how large or significant the gathering. And whereas, although these 6 men have little in common that would bring them together in the real world, their love of baseball and their love of Pittsburgh has formed a strong bond that brings them together each year to provide real baseball fans and real Pittsburghers with one of the most unique gatherings in Pittsburgh. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby commend and express their gratitude to the Game 7 Gang, Herb Stoltman, John Landolina, Steve Neumeyer, Dan Schultz, George Skornickel, and John Urso for all they have done and continue to do to keep alive one of the greatest traditions of all sports. And now therefore be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Wednesday, October 13, 2010 to be Game 7 Gang Day in the City of Pittsburgh. Congratulations.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay?
Thank you, Councilman. I hope I get through my little talk better than Bill Mazeroski got through his when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Madam President, Councilman Kraus, members of City Council, on behalf of the Game 7 Gang, I proudly accept your proclamation. We're very grateful for this honor. To say that it was unexpected is a great understatement. We consider our years of active involvement in the October 13th event to be one of the love of the game of baseball for Pirate history and World Series history. We feel that keeping that moment, October 13th, 1960, 3:36 p.m., alive in the minds of Pittsburghers and the entire region helps to maintain a strong interest in the game of baseball and our Pittsburgh Pirates. In his foreword to the book Baseball Americana, George Will, political columnist and baseball enthusiast, wrote, and I quote, "Forbes Field was torn down in 1971. Well, most of it was. A bit of the left field wall still stands where it always did, near the University of Pittsburgh. We are always being told that we cannot turn back the clock. Nonsense. We can and sometimes should." End quote. We do turn back the clock and live again in that day in October 1960, revisiting, remembering, reminiscing, and rejoicing about a day of good old-fashioned nostalgic baseball. October 13th, 1960, 3:36 p.m. Thank you again for honoring the Game 7 Gang. We hope to see you tomorrow at the wall. The baseball gods and the weather gods have been good to us. They're promising 65 degrees and sunny. We've never had a rain out in all the years the event was going on. And I thank you again.
could we get all members to come up? Chuck, will you come up for the picture as well? And Missy Bielik in my office here too is probably the second Ultimate Pirate fan that we have here in the city. Why don't you come up, get in the picture yourself? Okay. Yeah, you gotta get in closer. All right, and where's your prop? You gotta hold your prop. There you go. Okay. All right. Let's get you one.